Welcome back to Real Royalty
Talks.
I'm Stacy,
And I'm Rebecca.
and we're here in our living room to talk to you guys.
About expectations.
Equaling worth.
I think we should start off saying, expectations can be healthy.
They can.
There are standards and expectations that, we should hold ourselves to.
Absolutely.
But we put danger in when we put our worth in other people's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say from the jump that we're not out here anti rules or expectations,
Right.
or goals.
Right.
But your worth should absolutely not be placed in other people's hands.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of want to talk about how we've got caught up in thinking when we fail to meet other people's expectations or even our own, that our worth takes a hit.
So I think we wanted to kind of talk about where it started maybe for us. Becca, do you want to go or do you want me?
Go ahead, girl.
Growing up feeling a pressure to be a certain way really had an impact on my self-image. And I kind of became a little bit of a perfectionist because I realized if I didn't do something right, I thought it equated to my worth, and I thought it meant I wasn't enough. I thought it meant that I didn't have things to offer because I couldn't do it right or do it right the first time. And so being able to grow up and notice that those expectations that were placed on me were not expectations that should have been placed on me, or felt in a certain type of a way was huge. And we'll talk a little bit later about how that was overcome. But Becca, what was an impactful moment for you that you felt, or a part of your childhood that you felt impacted your worth?
I don't know that I would necessarily say my childhood. I think going when you are a little bit older and you kind of step into your own. I think I struggled with applying grace to myself.
That's good.
I grew up in a super compassionate household. And I know that my parents had expectations of me, and I know I definitely didn't always live up to them. But there was never a point in which I felt like I couldn't come back from.
Yeah.
Until I was probably in my 20s. And then you learn about grace your whole life, and you learn to extend grace to other people.
Yeah.
And my parents are really great examples of extending grace to us. Not just their kids, but to people in general. But I think that when I had to apply grace to me for the first time is where I struggled.
True.
So I grew up in the church, and I definitely say that would have a huge impact on me. And not that the church put this expectation of being perfect on you, but it's definitely noticed when you make a mistake.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that was the time. It's when I had to decide whether or not to apply grace to myself. And I chose not to.
Yeah. That's good.
So
No, go for it, girl. Do your thing.
Something that Stacy kind of hit on already is the difference between shame and guilt. So shame will tell you that I did something bad, so I'm bad. And guilt will tell you that I did something bad, period. So when we were in positions where we were guilty of making a mistake or guilty of something we shouldn't have done, we have the opportunity to extend grace to ourselves and say, you know what, I made a mistake and I probably shouldn't have done that really dumb thing. And even logic would tell you not to do that really dumb thing. However, shame will say you did this and now you are this, or now you aren't this. It impacts your identity. And the cycle began there for me.
Yeah, that's good. I think one of the things as you're talking about like grace and how that goes along with the shame too. I think for me, I noticed that it's not only in my own life, but I've also seen this kind of be a generational thing. And in my family, I have an amazing family. Both sides of my family are great, and I love them for totally different reasons. They're totally different, and it's great. But I've also noticed, as much as there's generational blessings, there are also generational curses and generational things in our life that we inherit from our families that are just passed down. It's behaviors. It's the way that you see things growing up. It's just innate. Like, you grow up in a household and you don't know right and wrong, and if you see something handled a certain way, your little mind thinks that that's the way to handle things until you grow up, and then there's a difference between those things. And so I think for me, the grace, and my family has a hard time giving themselves grace. And I've noticed that leads to running from problems, avoiding talking about problems. Like, and these are all unhealthy behaviors that are really, I've seen impact you. They sound small, like just avoiding something, but it creates such larger problems on a grand scale of things. And it's all because we didn't extend some grace to ourselves. And so instead of this little thing being able to be talked about and worked through, it snowballs into a bigger issue. And so I think recognizing when we're at that boundary line of, okay, I'm at guilt right now. I'm guilty of whatever this is, but am I going to cross that line to shame? And it's like, or am I going to turn back and like begin to give myself some grace and ask God for his grace? Because there is no person too far. There is no action too great that the grace of God cannot forgive. And I'm not saying that excuses the behavior. That never excuses a behavior. But there is grace. There is grace.
Definitely. I don't know. Worth is such a difficult thing, especially in your like teenage or like early 20s.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time you realize that your worth, really how important it is. Like your sense of identity and your sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
Because if you treat yourself like you don't matter or like you're unworthy, there's no one else that's going to treat you like you're worth something. Like, you give permission to people, and it's not that's like they absolutely, abusers absolutely are wrong all the time, no matter what.
Right.
But I've absolutely given people permission to treat me poorly because I didn't think that I was worth more. And I think I know my guilt in that, but I no longer am attached to the shame of that decision. So I've absolutely let people treat me badly.
Yes.
And I've learned that lesson, so don't try me.
Right.
In the name of Jesus. So I identify with my part of the problem, which is also a part of
healing.
Yeah, the healing for sure. But identifying when you're crossing between guilt and shame, if you're guilty, like, you can identify with what part you were wrong. Like, you can take responsibility for your part in something. And I think if it's shame-based, you shouldn't take all the responsibility for all of the wrongdoing, especially taking responsibility for other people and how they have treated you.
Yeah.
So if someone treated me badly, I'm like, well, I probably deserved it. I did this, and that is why they treated me like this.
It's almost a rationale.
It is, because when you think with that kind of mindset, one, like, you're detached from your identity.
That's
and
good.
Detached from your worth.
She's
But
getting that YouTube.
I'm coming for you. You're in our living room, but I'm coming to yours. When you remember who the heck you are.
Moana. I'm so sorry. I just had to call out Moana. That was perfect.
It's true, though. When you remember who you are or what you're worth, the moment that someone reminds you what you're worth when you feel worthless will change your life forever.
And I think that's definitely what changed ours. And that was the difference in me going one way in life and the other. And in the last episode, we talked about our leaders, our youth group leaders, and how they had such a huge impact on our lives. And I think one of the reasons is because when somebody finds something inside of you and pulls out like the gold inside of you and recognizes that there's something more, it's went from being an expectation to like, no, it's okay what you did, but like we're gonna pull out the good things. It's cultivating like the good inside of you. And I think there's a difference between focusing too, like your focus on the things you can't do and the things that you've done. It's like, you can't, your focus has such a huge, what's the word? It just has such a huge impact on how your actions will be. Because if you're focused on the things you did wrong, it won't matter if you did something wrong again. But if you're focused on, I'm striving to be this, it's like, okay, I'm not letting nobody stop me. I'm not letting nothing stop me from getting to my promise from where I am. I may be here and I might have made this mistake yesterday, but I don't have to stay there, and I can continue to climb up and go higher because it's not about what I did yesterday. I fall and I get back up, and that's what this channel is about. This channel is about, we said, falling and getting back up better. And so if you fall and you think, I woke up this morning and I told Becca, I said, check my hair, look at my everything, because like I did not feel worth it today. I did not feel worth it to sit in front of you and talk and do those and say these things, because there's such an attack that comes on you when you're about to go and do something like this. It makes you feel so insignificant, so insecure. And honestly, I think being vulnerable about that is what is going to break that. And so me saying that and recognizing that I feel that way, but I can still do it. I can still come out here because I know the truth of who I am. And when she says who I am, if I don't know who I am, I look in the Bible and I say, I know who I am. I am a son and a daughter of God. I am royalty. I am literally like the daughter of the King. Like all these promises from God we can take hold of for ourselves. And like when we read the Bible, it's like a book about remembering who I am. And so when I remember who I am, I don't have to be insecure, because I know that anything that comes against that truth is a lie. And I don't have to identify with a lie. And just because I'm thinking it doesn't mean it's true.
You better preach. Yo, that is for real. That is for real. Your mind will play tricks on you.
It's so true.
It will. And I think once you recognize the lie, that's like when I said that moment where someone else calls out your worth. Like the moment you recognize the lie, the moment you realize, yo, I've been down in this pit for so long, I forgot what it looks like to stand on my own 2 feet. Like once you realize that you can stand, girl, that moment for me was so extreme. Like I totally felt voiceless. Like I felt like I lost myself truly. And I didn't think that like the things that I did were redeemable. I'd been out here applying all of this grace to everyone else, including my abuser. And I totally thought that like the things I participated in counted me unworthy and made the things I did were beyond redemption. And then I was like, hold up, wait a minute.
Put a little love in it.
Really though.
A little grace in it. a little sprinkle of Jesus in it, because that ain't right.
That moment was everything. It really was. It was the moment that I was able to remember who I was. And not even that I believed that I could come back from it in full force. In that moment, I definitely wasn't thinking that. But I was like, hold up. Like, I've been done so dirty. And
It's so true.
I am definitely worth more than this.
Yes, you are, girl.
Like,
you better preach it.
I was like, there's gotta be more than this for the rest of life. Like, this is unacceptable. And I think that is when I stood up to my abuser for the first time. And it was not immediate, girl. It was not.
And
but
maybe...
It started the process.
And let us say, too, it's not always for everybody to stand up. Sometimes it's, seek shelter and stuff like that, because not everybody's story is the same.
No, I had to...
Yeah, but for you, it was right.
Once y'all learn me a little bit more, you'll find out that it took me to kind of pull the people in, the people around me in, to help me get up out of that mess. It was relying on the people who were around me, stronger than me at the time, to help me get up out of there. But it was the shame would have kept me in that place forever. And when I was able to transition from shame to guilt, I was like, y'all, I done messed up.
I done.
But the people in my circle, my parents, God bless you, my siblings, my friends, were able to help me realize that, yeah, girl, you messed up. But ultimately, I was able to get up out of that dysfunction and learn and grow just by that transition between shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's so good. So if you are experiencing any of this, which I'm sure you are, because we all have worth issues, you may manifest it different. It may look different than somebody else's. Somebody may hide themselves. Somebody might become prideful, say, I got it all together. Like, no, first of all, none of us have it all together. And if you do, you need to check yourself. But that's okay.
Before you wreck yourself.
I
would say the expectations that other people have of you, check them according to who you are. Your identity at the core of it, not including the symptoms that you might be dealing with, but like the symptoms of shame have nothing to do with your self-worth.
Ooh, I just have to shout out my man Michael Todd, though.
Girl.
Michael Todd,
we love you, first of all.
We love you, first of all. Michael Todd, if you don't know about Pastor Michael Todd and Transformation Church,
Transformation Nation
out here. First of all, we watch, like, every morning. I got Michael Todd on. I start my day with that. So if you don't know, you should go watch Michael Todd on YouTube. Yeah, but my whole point is he talks about how there's how are we gonna hold the standards of the world are changing, and so. Because the standards of the world are changing and we're trying to impress all these people, like the media is telling us who we're supposed to be, this, that, everything's pulling us every which way. But those standards are changing. 10 years ago, those standards look different. Today, those standards look different. But why would we hold ourselves to these changing standards when the Bible is an unchanging standard? It has not changed since day one. It has been added to and then completed, and it is all inspired and by the breath of God, and it's just these standards aren't changing. And so we know who we are, and there's a firm, solid, concrete foundation of who you are when you know who you are in Christ. And that's why,
so challenge not only the expectations other people have on you, but challenge the expectations you have on you in accordance to like what the word says. So if you know who you are in Christ, you know your identity in him, as a person, you know what is acceptable and unacceptable. And you can kind of check, okay, you have this expectation of me. But first of all, are you living up to your expectation,
Right.
sir or ma'am? Like, if you're not, first of all,
how are you gonna measure yourself to somebody who can't even measure their self?
yo, if that doesn't preach, okay, we're done here.
We're
Like,
done.
that was it.
All right, we out.
See ya, YouTube. That was
was it.
a money statement.
Yeah.
Y'all better, somebody use quotes if you use that sentence, because your girl deserves some credit.
We're all perfectly imperfect.
We out here.
But so we love you guys. We're gonna be getting some new stuff out to you guys next week. But for now, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Real Royalty Talks, okay?
You better like and share.
Like, share, follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We love you guys, and we are just out here. We just want to see real transformation. We want to see real transformation in your life. We want to see
Michael Todd plug one more
that
time.
was a Michael Todd plug if I've ever heard one. Transformation Nation. But we love you guys, and stay strong out here in these streets.
We'll see you next week.
Next week.